evening. Welcome to Expat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mantian. Here at Expat Insights, we take external views of internal successes of foreigners, expats, immigrants becoming successful in the Philippines. We sometimes also take a look at their lives back home. Tonight we have a very special guest, a man who's been around to 40 different countries. He has 200 million sales in books, 40 on the New York Times bestseller, the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and the Success Principles mega guru, Jack Canfield. So let's have a little chat with him. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, really good.
So do you like the introduction?
It was fabulous.
All right. So what brings you to the Philippines?
Well, I was here to do a seminar and did that. It was really exciting. And we're going now to do seminars on a 5-city tour all through Asia: Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, Singapore.
Yeah.
And on the success principles, or one-day seminars. And I wrote a book about 6 years ago on this topic. Identified there were 64 principles of success, that if people utilize those, they could literally create anything they want in their life, whether it was financial success, business success, relationship success, athletic performance, whatever it might be. And so these are principles that I've now been invited all over the world to teach.
64 principles.
64.
Do we need that many?
We actually need 102, but I couldn't put it all in one book. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. Right. I don't know. 64 is a lot to remember.
Well, you know what happens is I don't expect anyone to remember all of them. That's why they're in a book. You can refer to the book. But there's about 25 I call the fundamentals, just like in football. You have to know how to kick and pass and run and all that kind of stuff. So basically, it takes about 3 years to master this. But what I promise people is if you read the book and do what's in it, within 3 years you can double your income.
Double your income?
Double your time off.
So you have
twice as much time off and twice as much income, and have more balance in your life and have more spiritual and emotional fulfillment.
You have accomplished a lot. You have done everything that you profess and preach and practice. You know? Mm-hmm. So you have books, you have tangible and non-tangible successes in your life. You know? And you're happy.
I am.
When you look at yourself in the mirror sometimes, are you sure about your being happy?
Well, you can tell when you look in the mirror. You're either smiling or you're not, you know. Now, I feel happy most of the time. That doesn't mean I don't ever get angry or don't ever get sad. I mean, I lost my cell phone on this trip, and I had about 10 minutes of, gosh darn it, you know, and then I let it go because it's gone. What can I do about it? It doesn't serve me to be unhappy. And see, what I teach is that you live in the now. Right now is all there is. In other words, the past is gone, the future's not here. It's just a succession of nows, present moments. And so if we can make ourselves happy in this present moment, we'll always be happy because it's just a series of unfolding present moments. So, you know, I'll buy a new cell phone and I won't talk to my wife as often for a week, so what? We'll all live. And to me, happiness is an inside job. It's something you choose. I think Abraham Lincoln, who was the 16th president of the United States, said, you're just about as happy as you make up your mind to be. And so we can literally choose to focus on what we have or focus on what we don't have. And people who focus on what they have and notice the abundance in their life, you know, there are people that make $100,000 a year in the United States and they're unhappy. There are people that make...
Is that a lot of money in the United States?
Well, here's the deal. In the world, it's 1/10 of 1%, the top income.
1/10 of 1%?
1/10 of 1% of the world's population make $100,000.
That's like 0.1, yeah.
It's 0.001, I think.
No, 0.1, yeah. 0.1,
yeah. So, I mean, it's not a lot, right?
People who make $100,000.
$100,000. So you've got people that are making 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 millionaires who are unhappy because they're focusing on what they don't have. They don't have their private jet, they don't have the yacht, they don't have the house and the beach, whatever, instead of realizing, oh my gosh, I have all this abundance. And what we've also learned is that when you focus on what you already have and you feel grateful for it, you actually attract more to you to be grateful for.
That is the law of attraction.
The law of attraction. The law of attraction says what you think about and feel strongly about, you will attract more of into your life. So this is why the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. The poor complain about what they don't have, and the rich are always talking about what they do have.
Wait, slow down. You went through so much stuff on me.
Right.
Let me go back a bit. But we'll come back to the law of attraction.
Yes.
When you have small setbacks, like when you lose a phone,
yes,
yeah, and you bounce right back,
Yes.
What if you lose something much more important, much more valuable to you?
Like silence.
What? Let's pause for the plane here. Let's pause for the plane here. What if you lose a plane? I'm not kidding.
No, that's not fun. No.
When you lose something really and truly important, something close to your heart, how fast do you bounce back?
Well, it really depends on how attached you are to the thing you think you just lost. I mean, a lot of people grieve for years over the loss of a loved one.
Child, yeah.
A child or a parent or a
Yeah,
wife or a
yeah.
friend. But my belief is that there is no end of life, that your spirit, your consciousness goes on. So if I know that you just walked into another room, if you left your seat right now and walked into the hotel which we're sitting in front of,
Yeah.
would I be sad? No, because I know you were still over there. But when I lose something, a person, my experience is, oh, they're gone forever, that they're not alive anymore. Well, their consciousness is still alive. And so here's another piece. It's really important to realize. There's a rule in the universe that says whenever you lose something, something else comes to replace it.
This
But I'm
is
so
amazing.
focused.
This is
But I'm
amazing.
so focused on you having left. I don't see this other person that's just showed up
Wait, hang
who
on.
has
hang
similar
on.
qualities.
Hang on. Does this mean that you believe in reincarnation or the spirit living on forever?
I do.
You do.
Yes.
Alrighty.
I have recall of at least 5 of my own past lives
5 past lives of Jack Canfield.
that I'm totally aware of. I was a doctor in Germany. I was a kind of a low-level village official in China. I was a musician in Morocco.
Musician in Morocco.
I was a very bad student to become a shaman in the Native American tribe. So I have total recall. And I was a Catholic priest in Germany.
Well, in what order did these rebirths take place?
Do you know, I don't actually know all of that. I would say the Chinese life was first, probably the priest life was second, the Moroccan life was third, Native American was fourth, German doctor was fifth. That'd be my guess. I don't ever remember looking at a calendar when I was recalling those lives.
Well, we'll hold on to this thought. We got a break coming up. We got
Okay.
commercials coming up, people who pay for this show.
Okay.
2 questions. The now thingy that they spoke about, and we'll come back to rebirths.
Okay.
All right, let's pause for a minute for a drink.
Very good.
Good talking to you, Jack.
Thank you.
We're back with Jack Canfield, and he is going way too fast for his age. Let's catch up with him. So, Jack, tell me about the now principle that you were talking about a while ago.
Well, basically, if you live in the current moment, like right now, this is all we're
This is it.
experiencing.
This is it. There's
So if we
no
could-
yesterday. There's no
No,
next
only
month.
only in your memory, only
Okay.
in your mind, right?
Yeah.
So if I can make this moment happy, joyful, fulfilling for me, and I learn how to do that, then I just keep doing that every minute through my life, I'm always going to be happy. It's only when I'm worrying about the future or regretting something in the past that I
Yeah.
take myself out of happiness.
So it's like a still shot. Every single moment, every single flash of a second.
That's right.
It's a still shot. That's it.
Right.
So a while ago, you came here sweating.
Yes.
You lost your way.
Yes.
And so if that's now gone from your memory, it's in the past.
Yes.
So you are not regretting, you're not complaining, you have nothing that bothers you about having lost your way
No.
and having sweated like
No.
a person shouldn't sweat.
Right.
Amazing, amazing. Okay.
Right. How would that serve me?
How would that so? Is that the question you're asking
Yeah,
me?
how would it serve me? Well, it's a rhetorical question. How would it serve
All
me
right.
to regret that I lost my way? Or to call myself stupid or get upset about it?
Oh, how would it feed you? How would it satisfy you?
It doesn't do anything. It doesn't
anything.
just takes my happiness away.
So are you saying that in the last 66 years of your life, or at least the last 46, since you've been practicing these success principles, and you probably had ups and downs in your life,
Yes.
you do not carry anything from your past? Zilch?
Very little. It still shows up sometimes, but then when it does, my job is to release it. So basically, I might, just to give you an example, recently I was working on what is it that's in my life that isn't perfect. So I always want to try to make it more perfect. And I realized I had a lot of clutter in my office, a lot of piles of books and papers and letters, and it was
Yeah.
getting to me.
Yeah.
And so I thought, why can't I get rid of this? I would clean it up, and then within 2 months it would all be piled up again. People would send me stuff. It was too much. And what I realized was that I was trying to serve too many people. You can only answer so many letters, you can only write so many books, etc. And people would ask me to write introductions to their books and forewords and testimonial quotes. And because I thought I should, I was letting all these things pile up because I couldn't possibly get to them.
Yeah.
So I went back into my past and I said, where did this come from?
I should do this.
Yes, I
Yeah.
should do this.
Yeah.
Came from, and believe it or not, it came from a time when I was 6 years old, and they were going to put my dog to sleep. They're going to kill my dog because he had bitten a neighbor. And
This was in West Virginia.
Yes, I was hiding under the porch with my dog,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't find him.
Yeah.
And they're all screaming, "You're going to get punished. Where are you? Come out here with your dog." And I didn't.
Yeah.
And what happened was I couldn't save my dog's life.
Right.
And I began to realize that I was feeling guilty that I couldn't save my dog's life. And so I was trying to save everybody else ever since then.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a term in English called the underdog, which means like the person who is, poor, in prison,
Yeah.
so forth and
The
so on.
patsy.
Yes. So basically, a lot of my life was around this past memory, but it was subconscious. I didn't realize I'd made a decision when I was 6 years old. It was now still affecting me. When I released that decision and said, okay, I'm not going to run my life that way anymore, all of a sudden I threw away 5 or 6 boxes full of letters and books and all
And you
kinds
said
of
you're
junk.
done with it?
Done with it? I don't
Yeah.
care anymore.
The people that were involved and who were expecting these letters from you, how about them? They're gone.
They're gone.
So they suffer some pain?
I hope not,
I hope not.
but that's their choice.
This thing is so Eastern. It is so metaphysical that you're talking about, no? And it's rare that a Westerner like you lives it, no? When and how did you come to this realization that I should do this? It works for me. It makes my life beautiful and powerful. When did that moment happen? Did you sit under a banyan tree or
No. It was an oak tree. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I think it came to me probably when I was about 30 years old. I started meditating, and I was someone taught me how to meditate. I began to do that,
Yeah.
and then I started to have much more inner peace. And then with that inner peace came insight about what was important, what was not important. And so more and more, I just realized this is important, this is not. It's not important to try to please everybody. There's too many people to please. You can't do it. In fact, one of the things I'll do in a seminar, I have a co-leader, and I would
Tomorrow?
have one of them tell you stand up, and I would say sit down. And they say no, stand up, and I would say no, sit down. And now you're confused because if you're trying to please me, you don't know what to do.
Right.
And then you have to decide for yourself: would you rather sit down or would you rather stand up?
Oh.
Most of us go through life trying to figure out what
Shoulds.
other people want and try to give them that, rather than going inside and deciding what we want. There's a story I open my book with, which is about
This
a man.
is what's the name
the
of the
Success
book?
Principles book.
Yeah.
It's the first story I tell after my introduction, about a man who was looking for a key under a lamp outside at night.
Yeah.
And this other man comes up and says, "Sir, what are you doing?" He's down on his hands
the
looking
key.
around. He says, "I'm looking for my key." He said, "Well, let me help." And so about 20 minutes go by, and he says, "Sir, we've looked everywhere. There's no
Yeah.
key here."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I didn't really lose it here. I lost it in my house." He said, "Well, why are we looking for it out here then?" He said, "There's more light out here." So we spend our life looking for answers outside of ourselves instead of inside ourselves.
Instead of where we lost it.
Yes.
Based on that,
Yes.
the Eastern philosophy says that people who look far and out are considered dreamers. Yeah? Or they dream. People who look inside and deep awaken. So which one of those would you regard yourself to be? Dreamer or one who's been awakened?
I would say I'm an awakened dreamer.
And how's that?
Well, because I do feel like I'm awake, not every single moment. I don't claim to be a guru or totally enlightened at all. But I also look far out. If I have a vision of what I hope the world can become. I would like the world to be living in peace, ecologically sustainable, socially just, good education for everybody, medical treatment, etc. And at the same time, I am also aware that everybody has their own karma to play out, that there's everybody has to grow and become more responsible, learn the principles of life, and that's part of the game we have to play here on Earth. But for me, I am someone, maybe I'm a combination of East and West. Maybe that's the new game. We've integrated these two. But I have a vision, I have goals, I look far. I believe that we can create a world that works for everybody. And at the same time, I look inside and I am very at peace with myself. And I feel very connected to all humans and God and so forth.
Where I come from, and that's the philosophy that you're talking about, we talk about life as a river. Life being a river, and you as a soul cross it, come back, cross it, come back, cross it, come back. But the Western philosophy is that life is a river, but you only cross it once.
Well, that's the Christian philosophy of like you live once, you go to heaven or hell.
Yeah, this is it. You only pass this way once.
I just don't believe that because it's not been my experience. You know, I go from my own experience, not from a set of beliefs. See, the problem with beliefs is that I have this image of like 5 hands pointing to the moon. Everyone's saying, what are you pointing at? The moon. And it's about the moon. But we've been arguing for centuries about which is the correct hand to point to the moon.
Well, what does that mean?
That means God. Here's God.
Yeah.
We're connected to God.
Oh, okay.
And yet we're arguing over, is it the Christian hand, the Muslim hand, the Hindu hand, the Buddhist hand that's pointing to that experience of oneness with God.
Right.
It's not about the hand. It's not about theology. It's about the experience of connectedness with the essence of who we are. That's what we all should be exploring.
See if this makes sense to you. From where I come from, we call that, there's an idiom that goes with that. It says, pat anek as in path, the word path, P-A-T-H, pat anek, manzilek.
What's that mean?
Manzil is destination. Multiple paths, single destination.
Yes.
So is that what you are subscribing to?
Yes, yes, I would say the same thing. It doesn't matter what path you go on as long as you get to the destination.
The same destination.
We spent way too much time fighting over and having wars about and having intellectual debates about what's the correct path. And that's a waste of time, in my opinion.
So these are major shifts for a Westerner. These are major shifts for your family, for your community that you probably grew up in.
Well, there are millions of us who believe and think this way.
But when you kind of made that shift in your life, did you have to break away from a lot of community that you grew up in?
You know, my parents were traditional Christians who went to church every
say
Sunday.
That again? British?
Traditional.
All right, yeah.
Christians who went to church every Sunday, and but they noticed I was happy. So as long as I was happy, they
didn't get in your way.
They didn't get in my way, no.
And how many others in your family or community have you influenced in the way of your thinking?
I'd say my sister and my oldest brother.
Yeah.
My wife, for sure.
Yeah.
My children would all believe this way and experience life this way.
Across the world?
Across the world? Oh, gosh. You know, we've sold 125 million copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul books.
And
in India, the average book gets read by 5 people.
Right.
So you figure 500 million people have read these books.
But Chicken Soup for the Soul wasn't about this little thing you're talking about right now.
It was about principles embedded in stories.
Softer ones.
But the principle's in the story, and you don't even know the principle got into you.
All right, all right.
See, for example, one of the stories I tell in the first Chicken Soup book is called The Golden Buddha. If you've been to Bangkok, you may have seen the Golden Buddha.
Yeah.
It's about 3 meters high, and it weighs 5.5 tons of solid gold.
Yeah.
And when they didn't know they had such a thing in 1954 when they discovered it, they were lifting this very heavy clay Buddha up to move it from one side of Bangkok to the other, and it slipped, and a big crack went down through. And the head monk said, okay, we're going to cover it with a tarp because it was starting to rain, big piece of canvas to keep it dry. And that night he came out and shined a flashlight in, and a little light reflected back from this crack in the clay.
Yeah.
And he said, clay does not reflect light. There must be something else in there. I wonder what it is.
Yeah.
So they chipped away in the back where it wouldn't show if they were wrong, and lo and behold, they discovered this solid gold Buddha. And they didn't know it was there until then. Now, their best theory is that 300 years earlier, the Burmese were attacking Thailand, and they think that what happened was that they had covered this golden Buddha with clay, the monks in this monastery, to keep it from being stolen.
Yeah.
And then they think all the monks were killed, and nobody knew. The secret died.
Yeah.
And I tell that story to say that inside of us is this golden Buddha, golden Christ, golden essence. But we've been covered over with the clay of fear, self-doubt, limiting beliefs, theological beliefs, etc., rules that stop us from being connected to the essence of who we are. That's why we have to look inside. The word discover means to take the cover off of, discover something. You don't have to put anything new in anybody. You have to discover what's already there, the genius, the brilliance. And then there's some little tools you can learn, some techniques. But
is that one of your guiding principles in your coaching that you teach in
yes,
Success Principles?
Absolutely.
I love that.
But the answers lie within, as we said before.
Very good. I want to ask you something else.
Yes.
Besides you, in the West, there are people like Covey, Stephen Covey, Daniel Goleman. There is Deepak Chopra, and of course Ken Blanchard. No?
Mm-hmm.
How are you different, or how are you similar to these thought leaders?
Well, we're all people that believe in the unlimited human potential. That people
All four of you.
All four of us believe in that.
Five of you, including you. I'm sorry. Five, including you. Yeah?
That's right. And I think every one of the people you mentioned has a very big heart, very loving person.
Yeah.
I mean, I know all of them personally.
Yeah.
They all work very, very hard to make a difference and to contribute. I would say they all have a deep spiritual
Yeah.
concern, and they all have a practice of some kind, different
Yeah.
view.
Yeah.
Daniel Goleman is a Vipassana meditation,
Fabulous,
Buddhist meditator.
Yeah.
Ken Blanchard is a very devout Christian. Deepak Chopra is, follows the Hindu teachings, meditates and prays every day, as I do. So I mean, I think we all are very similar in many ways.
Your Canfield School of Thought, your Canfield School of Thought with your success principle, 64 success principle, seems to have all the answers to troubles in life, to challenges in life, to issues in life. From your perspective, from your group of thinkers, from your team who you brainstorm with, the TLC, Transformational Leadership Council, is there something that you still want to answer besides material gains and tangible gains? Is there something that you're still looking for to answer?
Well, I'm always looking for a deeper connection to God, to be able to travel in even deeper realms of consciousness. Like right now, I've been studying with a Jewish teacher who teaches Kabbalah, which is an ancient form of Jewish mysticism.
Right.
And we're doing these meditations, taking these journeys into, for lack of a better word, outer space, inner space.
Both of them.
And there are more and more layers of consciousness. You think you've reached the top, and then you break through. There's something deeper you can know. So I'm just constantly wanting to know more, experience more, see more, be more.
And do you feel that there will be a time that you will be fulfilled and I'll say, I'm done, I've had it with learning and growing? Will there be a time in your life, you think? Will
I imagine the day I pass over will be that day.
So your soul will travel, your soul will continue the journey.
I believe it will, yes.
And where do you think it wants to go?
Where do I think it wants to go?
Your soul, yeah?
Probably just to the higher and higher realms of awareness and consciousness until there is what I call unitive consciousness, where there's no separation ever from
between you and
everything, the universe, cosmos.
This is beautiful stuff. All right. Okay. Now, you teach success principles. A friend of mine wanted to know.
Yes.
There's a friend, you probably know, a guy called Scott Friedman.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. He said, of all the principles you suggest, going from success to significance, what are the three best ones would you recommend?
Well, if I could have recommended only three, I would have written a much shorter book. But I think that to go from success to significance, I think coming from service rather than selfishness has to be part of that. Meaning that you achieve significance by doing something and making a contribution, having deeper meaning in life, not by material gain or success. And so looking for how can I be of greater service? You mentioned Deepak Chopra earlier. Deepak wakes up every morning and says in his prayers, how can I serve more people more effectively today? And so I'm constantly asking that same question. How can I reach more people and reach them more effectively and have more impact on their lives so they can create what they want? My life purpose is stated as inspiring and empowering people to live their highest vision in a context of love and joy. Inspiring through stories like the Chicken Soup books, empowering through books like The Aladdin Factor and the Law of Attraction books and the Success Principles, to live their highest vision, not mine, but theirs, in a context of love and joy, meaning that they're not going to hurt anybody. And I added recently, since the whole meltdown on Wall Street with the derivatives and all that, in harmony with the highest good of all concerned.
In harmony with the highest good of all concerned.
Because
ecology.
Yes, because what happens is if I don't consider everything and everybody, then one thing I do could bring the whole system down, as we saw in New York and around the world. So that we have to be careful about our ecology, the water, the food we eat, the air we're polluting, etc. So if what I'm doing actually is harmful to others, even though it serves me, then I don't support that. That's not part of my vision. I don't think that's the way the world was meant to work. Bruce Lipton, who wrote a book called The Biology of Belief.
Bruce Lipton, yeah.
He said, what we now know about evolution is it's not survival of the fittest. It's survival of the fit-innest, meaning what species learn to adapt and fit into the current changing world are going to survive. And what we know now is people that are going to survive in cultures and companies are people and cultures that cooperate rather than fight, that are creative, that move towards sufficiency rather than to greed, meaning that how much is enough? You know, how many planes can you own? How many suits can you wear? You know, et cetera. And so there's a whole new model now where we're looking at having sufficiency rather than having a greedy amount of abundance.
My question that I was supposed to raise based on this point was that most all of you, you're talking of wealth accumulation, success,
Yes.
Prosperity, living abundantly, and just getting rich, getting all you want.
Right.
And you create goals, and you have people chase goals. Yeah. And several of us, several speakers, business people, amass a lot of wealth, amass a lot of tangible goods, and then they start giving it back.
Right.
Yeah. There comes a time. Bill Gates is doing it.
Philanthropy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but why gather it in the first place?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I only ask good questions, Jack. Why gather it in the first place? Yeah.
Well, I think that some people have become obsessed with gathering it.
Yeah.
Perhaps some people, it is their destiny to gather it so they can steward it better than perhaps the government or someone else would.
Yeah.
Maybe it's part of what they need to do to bring something forward. I used to really be upset about the British Empire and how much it had gone out and conquered the world.
So was I. I was really upset too.
Yeah. And yet, when I was sitting in Singapore about 5 years ago having dinner with a general in the Singapore Air Force, and I had just seen the movie Gandhi, which portrayed the British very badly in India,
Yeah.
and I was talking about that, and he said, "Oh no, thank God for the British." And I said, "Really, why?"
And this was an Indian with an Indian ethnic
He was an
background.
Indian ethnicity, but he was a general in the Singaporean Air
Yeah.
Force. He said, "Thank God for the British." I said, "Why?" He said, "We'd have no postal system, we'd have no government, we'd have no railway system, we'd have no judicial system.
We wouldn't be speaking English.
We wouldn't be speaking English together." Well, that part is who cares.
Yeah.
But the reality is that maybe it was part of the destiny of the British to bring those kind of orders to the world, and for someone else to bring something else. And I don't sit high enough in consciousness yet to understand all that, but I think it's perfect because it happened, or it wouldn't have happened. And now that we're moving and changing and growing, that's perfect as well.
So that's recognition and appreciation of systems thinking over a period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When people you train and coach, you do hordes of people, you change their lives. Some of them don't succeed.
Yes.
Some of them break down and suffer. Yeah. What about those?
Well, most of the people I coach don't break down and suffer. They learn and grow.
Yeah.
Now, a one-day workshop, that's not enough. But if someone really studies with me, and what I recommend is that they literally read the book and do a chapter a week and take each one of those principles and live it for a week until it becomes more integrated.
Yeah.
So it takes about 2 or 3 years to master. But I've had people, I have a yoga teacher who took my seminar in 2007, and what she used to make for a yearly income,
This
she
is
now
in the
makes
US?
in the US, she
Yeah.
now makes as a monthly income. So she's 12 times her income in 3 years. So this is what we see over and over and over. Now, not everyone wants to make money. Some people want to make a difference. Some people want to have athletic success. Some people want to create beautiful relationships. The principles work, whatever you apply them to, including spiritual growth and fulfillment. It's really up to you.
Never in your lifetime has there been a person who's come up to you and he said, "Jack, I've spent 6 months with you. I've spent $600,000 on you.
No
and
one's
my
ever
life
spent
hasn't-
$600,000 on me,
$60,000 on you, and my life hasn't changed. I want a refund." Has that ever happened?
I've had 3 people ask for a refund at the end of a week-long workshop, but other than that, no.
All right, good. So your success rate is good.
It's very good.
All right, we are coming to one more break. One more
Okay.
commercial break. People who pay for this show. And is there anything you want to do to wrap up what you just said? And before I go to the next question.
No, I think we're doing fine.
All right, so we'll take that break. And ladies and gentlemen, we are still with Jack Canfield, and we are going really fast. We'll take a 1-minute break and come back. This is Expat Insights, and I'm your host, Rajuman. Welcome back to Expat Insights. I'm your host, Rajuman, and we are still with Jack Canfield. And we're going to ask him a question. Jack, to understand other people, to deal with them, to help them become better, I understand it requires that you go through the pain and the process and the darkness that these people live through. To be able to see their darkness, to be able to heal them from their darkness, you need to have darkness inside of you. Do you subscribe to that?
Well, we all have a shadow side. There are 2 sides of everything, the yin and the yang, the dark and the light and so forth. I don't know that you have to have darkness in you. I think you have to have confronted the darkness in you and worked with that. That's what builds compassion. That's what gives you understanding and empathy, caring. I mean, in my life, I grew up in a family where my parents got divorced. My father was a violent man. My mother was an alcoholic. My stepfather was a workaholic, wasn't home much. You know, I've had a divorce myself. My first marriage didn't end, and, you know, less than 20 years. It was a good marriage. It just died. You know,
Your wife passed away?
No, the marriage died.
Oh, the marriage died.
She didn't die. But it just got dead. I always describe it as, you see these movies that start out in black and white, and then they turn into color when the person wakes up. Well, ours went from color to black and white.
Yours went from color.
It lost its joy. And so we were done. You know, we had no more to teach each other, to give each other, to serve each other with. But because of that, we went through a divorce, and the courts got involved, and I lost a lot of money, and I didn't think it was fair. And so I can relate to all of those kind of things. You know, I've had pets that died and friends that have died of cancer. And, you know, my first business went bankrupt when I was young. So I've been there, you know, and so I can relate to people. Both of my parents are dead, so I can relate to that. So I think the having confronted those issues and confronting my own fears and my own limiting beliefs, when people are scared or when they're dealing with grief or whatever it might be, I can relate to it.
You can relate to it.
But I don't have to go down with them. In other words, I don't have to get in the mud to pull them out of the mud. I just have to know they're in the mud and extend a helping hand up.
Is there anything now that scares you? Is
Anything?
there you said there's zero fear, zero guilt, zero anger. But is there anything that could shake you up? Is there something that could just come along tomorrow and say, Jack, this shatters your life?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think that if someone had a gun to my head, and I really thought
that would be a logical threat.
Or if I was kidnapped or a terrorist attack or something, I'd probably have a normal human reaction to that. But you know, I don't know what I could lose that would really matter. I mean, if I lost my house, if I lost my wife, if I lost my reputation, I'd still be me.
I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that before I asked you that question.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I'm afraid of losing is the love of my loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's the major fear. I'm not afraid of losing anything else.
Yeah.
So what does that tell me about myself? If I'm afraid to lose who I love massively.
Well, it means you're attached to that person being the source of the experience of love for you. It's not a bad thing. It's very human. It's very normal.
Yeah.
I've come to the place where I know if my wife died or my son died, that I would have enjoyed them totally up until now, and that there are thousands of other people living on the earth that I would be able to create loving, meaningful relationships with.
Not losing them as in like them losing their life, but them stopping loving me.
Well, you know, here's the deal. If you did something that you thought everyone was going to stop loving you forever, then you might feel like, wow, where do I get love? Where do I find my meaning? Where do I find comfort?
Okay.
But if you realize someone else would love you, I mean, think about this. O.J. Simpson was accused of killing his wife in America, Nicole Simpson. You probably remember that trial.
Yeah, I remember the...
And he got off, and he went out, and within weeks he had girlfriends. Here was a guy who probably killed his wife.
Probably, yeah.
And yet there were still people that were willing to love him. It's the weirdest thing. So given that, would you ever really be alone?
So no. So what I should be worried about is creating harm towards them, towards their being, for creating the lack of love coming from them. I should be afraid of that?
That would be more, yes.
That would be a more rational thing to do.
Yes, I agree with you.
All right. Great. One more thing.
Sure.
The whole world, the whole universe, 6.5 billion of us, we are all heading towards somewhere. We are multiplying in numbers. We are building bridges. We are building skyscrapers. We are innovating on technology. Where are we going as a humanity, as the whole civilization? Where are we going to stop? What are we going to get out of this?
Well, I'm a big believer in population control.
Yeah.
I think that right now, according to the research the scientists have done, we're using up about 2 Earths a year. And what that means is we're using up the water, the air, the resources, the fish, the fowl, the plants, at a rate that it takes the Earth a year to recover so much air. I mean, like, you know, take the carbon monoxide out and put back in the good stuff in the rainforest and so forth. Right now, we're using up at a rate faster than the Earth can replenish it. So we have to, like, scale back. There's a project called 4 Years Go that a friend of mine started.
4 years?
4 Years Go, G-O.
Yeah.
Because according to her and the scientists that she works with, we have literally 4 years to turn this around. If we don't turn it around in 4 years, stopping the level of pollution, we will actually not make it. There were some scientists in Europe that actually, they make reports on trends for Fortune 50 companies around the world, big multinational corporations. And what they found out was a couple years ago, they stopped making trend reports because they said there was absolutely no trend that was going to turn out well. They couldn't see anything working. And my friend went over and ran a workshop that I'm actually a leader of as well, called the symposium. It's called Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream. The idea is we're all in this dream, this trance of consumption. We no longer consider ourselves consumers, we call ourselves, or consider ourselves citizens, we call ourselves consumers. And we always think that growth has to happen. If the GDP isn't growing, then the economy is failing. The fact is, we're getting to a place where growing is like cancer. You don't want cancer to grow. You want it to stop growing. So what they did was we ran one of these symposiums that showed what was happening in the world. And these people were totally moved by it, moved to the point where they were willing to change their behavior. And what these scientists said was there was one thing we didn't calculate in our trend setting, and that was the ability of human beings to transform. And so if human transformation is possible, the people like you and I can scale back. We can turn our lights off. We can use less hot water. We can use canvas bags instead of plastic bags. We can cut down our consumption. Then we can turn this around. But literally, if we don't, where it's going to head is species extinction, and including us. The Earth will survive. The Earth survived the dinosaurs. We won't, but the Earth will. It'll shed us. So we have a choice to make. We have to become conscious evolutionaries, meaning we have to consciously evolve the next unfoldment rather than let it run rampant, or we will, as a human race, become extinct.
Besides that, Jacques, that would be managing the environment well. That would be nourishing the earth. No?
Yes.
But what I'm talking about is the universal soul.
Yes.
Yeah? We spoke about the individual soul that wants to keep on moving, it reincarnates. But as a universal soul, as a consolidated soul, where are we going? What are we doing? What do we plan to achieve? Even if the earth and the human species live for the next 1,000,000 years, post that.
Well, for me, I go back again, for me, my goal is consciousness. I think all souls, see, here's my philosophy of this, is that basically everything was one. It exploded. God basically said, I'm going to know myself. In order to know myself, there has to be a self and a knower. So we get duality. At a certain point, the knowing will occur and it will all merge back into one. It may be that in terms of physics, the universe will expand to a point where it will stop expanding and it will start to contract. And if and when that happens, it'll all go back into the one, and it'll be like this little tiny point in space.
The origin.
Yes, and maybe then it'll explode again, and maybe that'll just go on forever. You know, just like breathing goes on forever until it stops.
All right. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, I have 3 more questions for you. One comes from a professor friend of mine, Artilano of the University of Philippines. He says, Jack, name one person living and breathing right now who exemplifies everything that you believe in today. Is there somebody else who you look up to in this world?
Wow. You know, I don't think there's any one person that I would say that is my ideal model of a human being. I mean, I think certainly the Dalai Lama is someone that I have a deep, high respect for, who is conscious, who is active in the world. I read a quote this morning in the Philippine newspaper. I'm going to paraphrase it, but it said something like, the important thing is not to learn to walk on water or to learn to fly. The important thing is to learn to walk on the earth, meaning that you are in a body, you are incarnated, you're here for a purpose, live it. You know, fulfill your purpose here on earth, whatever that is for you, and it's unique for every individual.
Should we question it?
You know, I believe that we all have what I call an internal guidance system called joy, that if you follow your joy, you're going to be doing what you were born to do, whether that's be a singer, a dancer, an educator, a scientist, an engineer, an airplane pilot. If everyone follows their joy, I believe all the functions that are needed on the planet from human beings will get fulfilled. But you have to follow your own joy.
So the purpose will come together for itself.
Yes, it declares itself through you, as you, coming through you.
All right. Last question. Have a look at this picture.
Yes.
And what's your take on this?
Well, I know that he came out with a new book, and I
Yeah.
haven't really heard much about it. I know it's
Yeah.
very controversial.
Yeah.
And I can't remember whether he's saying there is no God or what, but so you could tell me what the cartoon is and I'll respond to it.
Sorry, yeah.
Stephen Hawking. I
Yes,
know.
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that?
On
On Stephen Hawking's opinion that he needs more proof?
that there's a God?
Yeah, or there's none?
Well, you know, he may. I don't. You know, I have what I call a direct experience. Often people say, do you believe in God? No. I'd be saying, like, do I believe in you? You're here. I know you're here. So I don't have to believe in you. I know you. So I have a direct experience of that in my life. So he's approaching it from a mental point of view. I don't think, it may be possible to get there. You know, there is I think it's called Jnana Yoga or something like that, where you can get there through mental
Jnana Yoga, yeah.
introspection. For me, it's more of a direct experience I'm looking for, and I've had it, and I know without any doubt that exists.
All right, last question. Last question is a question of your choice. Is there something that I should have asked you, Jack, that I haven't asked yet?
I don't think so. I think you've done a wonderful job. I think you could ask me on a scale of 1 to 10, how have I done, and I would give you a 10.
You would give me a 10?
Yes.
But that's not the question. The question is
I
there
know.
a question
Well, I
pending?
know.
Is there a question pending?
I don't have one for you.
Is there something you want to tell us?
You know, I would just look in the camera and say this. Every one of you has unlimited potential to produce anything you want. The question is, how do you do it? And there are many, many teachers out there with answers. I happen to be one of them. This gentleman is one of them. Find something or someone that you resonate with, that makes your heart sing, that you're attracted to. The law of attraction is not just about how do you attract stuff to you, but trusting that which you're attracted to. The music, the food, the people, the books, the spiritual paths, and trust that you can learn everything you need to know to create fulfillment, happiness, joy, love, a better world for everybody. You have the capacity. Quit sitting on it. Use it.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was straight from the gut of Jack Canfield. This is your host, Raju Mandian from Expert in Science, and it's been a great pleasure having you here, Jack. Thanks for the insightful views.
My pleasure.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So enjoy your trip.
I will.
And see you again sometime.
I look forward to that.